You shook someone's hand today. That gesture you performed automatically, without a second thought, was originally designed to prove you were not about to kill someone. You use it, eat with it, wear it, sit on it, and you have no idea where it came from. Welcome to Origin Point. Every episode, under 8 minutes, we go back to where something started, and trust me, it's never what you think. This is the real reason we shake hands, and the story stretches back almost 3,000 years. The oldest confirmed record comes from the 9th century BC, carved into an Assyrian stone relief that still exists today. King Shalmaneser III clasps hands with the Babylonian king Marduk-Zakir-Shumi I. And what they were sealing was not a friendly greeting, but a political alliance between two powers who had chosen survival over war. That's where this begins. Not in a boardroom or a locker room after a match, but in ancient Mesopotamia, where two kings needed each other to know the fighting was finished. By the 5th century BC, ancient Greece had given the gesture a name, dexiosis, meaning the offering of the right hand, and Homer wove it through both the Iliad and the Odyssey as a marker of trust, of pledging, of two people agreeing that whatever came next was real and binding. Think about what that means the next time a captain walks to the center of the pitch and extends his right hand to the opposition before kickoff. Because that ritual, performed on football fields across the world every single weekend, is a direct line back to ancient Greece. The same gesture carrying the same meaning across more than 2,000 years. What most people never hear is that the handshake was not symbolic at the start. It was a security check. Extending your right hand, your sword hand, and holding it open and empty was the clearest message anyone could send in a world where weapons were part of daily life. Roman culture pushed this further with a version called dextrarum iunctio, the joining of right hands, where participants clasped each other's forearms all the way up to the elbow, not for ceremony, but to confirm that no blade was concealed in a sleeve. Medieval knights carried this suspicion even further, and historians believe the up and down pumping motion we still perform today was engineered specifically to shake loose any weapon hidden inside a sleeve. Every time you pump someone's hand at a job interview or after a match, you may be running a weapon check that dates back 300 years. And nobody ever told you that. None of that explains how the handshake crossed from ancient ritual into the universal greeting it became, and that part of the story belongs entirely to a small religious group that almost nobody connects to this. The Society of Friends emerged in Britain in 1656, known commonly as the Quakers, and their problem with society was direct and specific. Bowing, hat-tipping, curtsying, all of it encoded rank into the act of saying hello. All of it said, "You are above me, and I acknowledge it." And to the Quakers, that was a statement they refused to make. Every person stood equal before God, which meant no person bowed to another. And when they greeted someone, whether a king or a farmer, a merchant or a stranger on the road, they shook hands instead. The shock this caused in 17th century Britain was genuine, and that's when something unexpected happened. Quakers were growing in number, and critically, they sat at the center of British trade and commerce, which meant their customs traveled through business networks faster than any religious movement could carry them. Merchants adopted the handshake to close deals. Partners used it to signal agreement. What had begun as a declaration of spiritual equality became a commercial standard, and that changed everything. The next shift came when thousands of Quakers emigrated to Britain's North American colonies from the late 17th century onward, bringing the handshake into communities that would eventually shape the culture of the United States. Neighbors adopted it, markets normalized it, and by the 1800s, the gesture had traveled so far from its origins that etiquette manuals were being written about it. An 1877 guide was already warning readers not to grip too hard, which means the handshake had completed its journey from ancient weapon check to documented social rule with its own published standards of conduct. The historian Walter Burker put the whole thing plainly when he wrote that an agreement can be expressed quickly and clearly in words, but only becomes effective through a ritual gesture, open and weaponless hands stretched out toward one another. What the handshake has always carried underneath every context it has ever appeared in is a declaration rather than a greeting. My hand is empty. Whatever comes next, we start from here. When the pandemic arrived in 2020, some argued the handshake was finished, that 3,000 years of contact had finally met something it could not survive. It hadn't. 3,000 years of meaning does not dissolve in a year, and the handshake came back. The same way it survived ancient wars, medieval suspicion, religious revolution, and every shift in how humans decided to treat each other. Two football managers still walk toward each other when the final whistle blows, win or lose, rivals or allies, and extend their right hands. Same gesture, same message it carried the first time a king reached across a stone table in ancient Mesopotamia to tell another king the war was over. That's origin point. If this one landed, share it with someone you'd actually shake hands with. And I'll see you in the next one.